So we're going to start today with a little look at my mental health as measured by the SOC dysregulation index. So we're not doing too badly today. I'd say that's a solid 6.5. White pairing classic, but doesn't really pick up the notes in any of the rest of the outfit. Somewhat disconnected, I would say, which I think is fair. Like, we're coping, but it's not seamless. we're not thriving. But we're solidly in surviving, so that's good. And I should get a couple of bonus points as well because I actually relaced this trainer last night. They've been waiting probably for about 3 months for me to put that lace in since I got a curry stain on one. Luckily just on the lace and not on the shoe the first time I wore them. But yeah, they've just been waiting about 3 months to get that lace back. So that's bonus points, I think, in terms of regulation. So we're winning there. So yeah, like, things are good. Today I promised to talk to you about my process for the next little bit, and then I've probably just got some other little rambles as well that I'll ping off on. So my process that we're going to use, rather than I as an ADHD person, what I would love to do is go, right, okay, I'm going to make loads of targets for every area of my life. I'm definitely going to sleep 8 to 10 hours a night because, overachiever. I'm definitely going to, put together a program that's like quite punishing and is going to, a training program that's going to really push me towards being the athletic weapon of my dreams. I'm going to definitely do only whole foods now, only whole, home cooked, from scratch meals, 1 billion Tupperware a day. I will somehow find the ability to wash all this fucking Tupperware up and clean my oven occasionally. It's not going to happen. But like, that's what I want to do when I find myself in like a place where I'm like, oh, I'm not happy with this. I just want to do it all. And then I'll generally survive about 3 days on the new regime before falling off horrendously and like dying in a pile, back to crash out, back to burnout. So what I'm going to do instead is, I know my big rocks that I'm looking at. So we talked about them yesterday. So like sleep, nutrition, hydration for me is a really big one. Organization, work, like getting all those structures, the spaces I'm in, so my clinic, my car, my house, like getting all of those under control and a little bit sane and like working for me rather than against me. So we know what the big rocks that we're trying to achieve are. But like I said, it's a really difficult one with working, with life, with being a distracted person generally. Like, I don't know at any given time what I'm going to be able to give to any particular area. Like, I might say these are the definite non-negotiables, but what happens if we meet a day and I physically can't meet the non-negotiables because I'm so fatigued or so in pain or so dysregulated that I can't hit those? And what normally happens is I don't hit them, and then I just kind of swerve off this new kind of program that I've created for myself. So the idea is we're going to build the foundations brick by brick instead. So in true ADHD fashion, I have purchased myself 2 notebooks. I haven't actually. This is, I think I found both of these in my house actually. I feel like this is a relatively new purchase. I haven't ripped any pages out of it because to start it again. If you know, you know. But basically, the 2 new notebooks that are going to rule my life from now on. And what they are is, rather than to-do lists, because I've got bags of to-do lists, I love putting things in my phone and then never looking at them again. So instead of those, which I find quite not easy to ignore, but I find it possible to ignore them, we're going with something that's paper and physical because that feels real. But also, we've got the magic of writing a book, which is basically like writing a spell. So what we're going to do is, this book is entitled Stuff That I've Done to Move Me Towards the Life That I Want. And then this, basically, you can assume is the same thing, but for training and nutrition. So, let's call this stuff that I've done to move me towards being the resilient, athletic weapon of my dreams. So basically, the idea is that when you do good shit, you write it in the book. When the book's finished, you've got that much good shit that you did, and then your life's better. And I remember the first time I used this method, I basically wrote in the first book, in the first page, I was like, by the time you fill this book, things will be different. And the sad thing is that I wrote that because I was like, I don't know if they'll be better, but they will be different. because like I was not in a good place when I first used this method. But actually, like every time I've used it, things have been better. Obviously, when you do more shit that takes you towards the things that you want, of course, better things start to happen for you. You feel better. You just like, it's a very, I don't know what it is about the process. If you think of it as like writing the book of your own life, and then you're just writing all this baller shit you're doing in there, I think that's why it works particularly well for me. Like, I really like that. My life coach, Emily, who is doing a great job of life coaching me, like genuinely, like she has really helped me to get a lot more structure around the stuff I'm doing, and a lot more honesty about where I'm at, which is really, really helpful and new and challenging, but good. But she asked me after we sort of agreed something, and she said, what are you going to do to celebrate when you've done it? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm going to just berate myself about all the other stuff I haven't done. And she was like, oh, maybe that isn't the best idea. She didn't say maybe that isn't the best idea, but she suggested that perhaps some sort of celebration might be in line. And I think that's one of the reasons this works, because it is just positive reinforcement that you're doing shit that is good. So yeah, I'm going to use this method to write in. So generally speaking, a page a day for the training and nutrition. You know, obviously depending on what training and nutrition I do, might be a couple of pages. But generally speaking, like you just need like that much to write your shit down. And I'm just going to write everything down. In terms of training, I have a little bit of a plan, but at the moment, I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. The idea is to get daily movement in that fits my goals, basically. In terms of nutrition, that's one of the key ones I want to start with. So sleep and nutrition are the kind of key factors that I want to get as the bedrock, because once they're going, everything else gets a little bit easier. So nutrition, my plan is over time to move towards my best nutrition ever was when I was tracking the amount of protein I was eating, and I was really obsessed with my gut health. And I felt fucking amazing. Like I could run through walls, all my numbers in lifting were going up, like everything was just good. So I want to get back there. So my plan is to count the amount of protein that I'm having. So roughly back of the envelope tracking. I am not going back to writing everything I do into MyFitnessPal, because it is fucking time consuming. I'm not weighing everything I do either. So, you know, like that is what it is. But I have done enough of these things that I do have a reasonable idea of protein. I do eat processed foods and things that come with labels that tell me how much protein's in them. I have protein supplements, and I roughly know how much chicken breast that I'm eating. And that's probably enough. So I'm going to track how much protein I'm generally getting, and I am going to track how many plants I'm eating. Gut health was a really helpful thing for me, actually, because instead of thinking of food as like macronutrients, I just got into that like protein, carbs, fats, and like that real kind of like just reducing everything to a macronutrient, when actually like food is so much more than that. Whereas gut health encouraged me to get a lot more diversity in my diet, because I was having to seek ways of getting extra plants and herbs, spices, like things that did good shit in my body. Like I really like that kind of like gamification of anything. In fact, I didn't spend lots of time on in RPG land to not enjoy gamification, but I think the gamification of just getting things in that are good for you, like finding 30 different things, and it's actually so easy to get 30 plants in a week. Like I, you know, ended up getting like significant amount of plants in a couple of days, you know, and then you'd be like, well, what's the next goal? What's the next goal? I just want to get loads of micronutrients and weird shit that's gonna like make my body happier in loads of random little ways. So I really like that it encouraged me to get that diversity, but it also, like just made me think a little bit more broadly about food again, and about the enjoyment of food, and why we're drawn to certain things. Like the reason certain foods taste good when we cook them, like whole foods, fruits and stuff, spices, herbs, it's because they're really fucking good for us and our body. And then you're like, oh, okay. So I feel like it encouraged me to have a little bit more joy in eating, as well as eating for like actual better health rather than just build muscle, lose fat, which probably had been the paradigm when I'd been tracking macros previously, which is just a little bit like you can eat whatever shit really like, and as long as the macros fit, like you're like, yeah, this is great, this is a great thing. So for me, that worked really well. I also like the concentrating on getting like probiotics in. I just need to get that in the right order. So your plants are your prebiotics, and then your probiotics are your shit that has bacteria in. And that was crazy. Like I went on a journey from like being like, what is kefir, to like I'm going to eat sauerkraut, and like I even like kimchi and fermented foods that like I had previously been like, oh no, I just don't like fermented foods. Like it's just who I am. Thought about it. But actually like seeking out like new and different forms of fermentation. The freakiness of like when you're looking at a packet and you're like, what bacteria is in this? Oh, I haven't had L. bacilli rhamnosus today. That'll be delicious. And you're like, what the fuck is this? But it's, yeah, I think it's, for me, it's a really good way of gamifying eating really well without overly stressing about, you know, weights, measures, boring stuff, which I find sends me back into the hole of like, right, okay, well, I'll just eat really like off the shelf packaged stuff because it's easier to figure out and I can scan the label into MyFitnessPal. So yeah, so that is the goal, to move towards a general understanding of how much protein I'm consuming to make sure that I'm in muscle gain territory, but also to ensure that I'm eating a real nice variety in terms of gut health. And that has started really calmly. So like when I say this, like I need to not do this in the normal way I do this, where I'm like, change your whole life, you only eat like this now. So I did a shop yesterday, which will go in here, which will go in, yeah, it'll go, no it won't, it'll go in this book because it's a shop. When I eat it, it'll go in there. But basically, I just bought a real mix of stuff. I bought a load of Lidl high protein ready meals because that is a really easy way of just getting off the ground. Like, is it perfect? You know, like probably not. Like, you know, I'd rather not be eating pre-processed food out of packages, but it's better. What do the breastfeeding people say? They say fed is best. And I think that that is absolutely it. Fed is best, and then you can figure out optimal later. So for me, like, rather than me stressing out about something being perfect and then missing 2 meals as a result, I'd rather just eat something that was suboptimal and then move towards optimal eating as we go. And I think for me, that feels like a much more sane way of doing things than not. So that's the plan. So yeah, so that's training and nutrition. And in here goes sort of everything else. I'm just logging at the moment. There's no big kind of, you know, stress in terms of like what specifically. I'm just logging the good things that I do that are on my big rocks list. So if I'm getting people's programs up to date and having their check-in call, then I'm logging it. If I'm, what else have I done? If I'm relacing my trainers, I'm logging it. But stuff like that basically. And eventually you write enough good stuff in the book and then you're like, oh, I did loads of good stuff for my life. So that's the idea. And that's the process that I'm going to be using as I go through this. And that's it. I think that's it. I think that's all I want to talk to you about today. So I hope that wasn't too boring. And I will see you tomorrow.